Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the Gospel of Mark by reading about the calling of Matthew, of Levi, as a disciple of Jesus. We're in Matthew chapter 2, and we're going to be reading verses 13 through 17. This is the second of 5 events which demonstrate the demise of the relationship between Jesus and the Pharisees and that faction. And it began yesterday when Jesus healed the paralytic that was let down through his roof and claimed that he had the right, the authority to forgive sins, and demonstrated that he did. And it will continue on today when Matthew is called and Jesus is feasting in the home of a tax collector. So let's read the verses. He went out again by the seashore, and all the multitude were coming to him, and he was teaching them. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting in the tax office, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. And it came about that he was reclining at table in his house, Levi's house, and many tax gatherers and sinners were dining with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many of them, and they were following him. And when the scribes of the Pharisees saw that he was eating with the sinners and tax gatherers, they began saying to his disciples, "Why is he eating and drinking with tax gatherers and sinners?" And hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Wow. This is such an amazing event. Small in terms of the number of words that are used, enormous in the implications of the thing that are taught, and so much detail is given to us. So Jesus is walking along the seashore, and there's a crowd with him, and he was teaching them as he was walking. Just another picture, visual image of what Jesus looked like as he was conducting his ministry that we get in Mark that we don't get much in the other Gospels. And as he's walking by, he sees Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting in the tax office, so probably sitting indoors. And he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. Now, there were 2 cities in Palestine where if you were a tax collector, you made lots and lots of money. One was Capernaum, and the other was Jericho, because they were on major trade routes, and they saw a variety of commodities pass through. Now, these tax collectors would have been government contractors who worked as private contractors for the Roman government and would have been given an amount that they were to collect. Rome knew how much it needed to collect from a certain area to fund the government, to fund infrastructure, and to pay for military campaigns. This is during the Pax Romana, and the bureaucracy of the Roman Empire was running well at the time. And so these men were left to do their job, and they had access to Roman authority to collect taxes when those taxes were not forthcoming. And so as you can imagine, even if they did their job honestly, they would be hated by the people, the way the Romans were hated and the way nobody likes to pay taxes. But these guys were more than that. They were loan sharks. I mean, that's what they were. They would charge an exorbitant amount and then loan the money to someone to pay their taxes and then charge them an enormous rate of interest on the loan. They were giving these guys paycheck loans that they could never pay off. And usury is forbidden in the Old Testament. And so you can understand why these folks were so despised, and you can understand how they came to be associated with the criminal underbelly of wherever they were. And this is who Levi is. And being in the office, he might have been, seems to be, a chief or the chief tax gatherer. And Jesus just looks him in the eye and says, "Follow me." And Matthew does. Now, Jesus is not unknown to Levi, to Matthew, just not unknown. He's an enormous celebrity in that area. And like Zacchaeus, I'm sure that Matthew himself, Levi himself, was eager to get to know who Jesus was. And follow me might not necessarily have communicated, be my disciple from this day forward, but it might have communicated, come talk with me a bit. And Jesus, as he did with Zacchaeus, went into the man's home. And Jesus and his disciples were feasting with Matthew and his colleagues and friends. And of course, the scribes of the Pharisees. So in case we wondered who these scribes were, we know now. The scribes of the Pharisees, in other words, the law experts associated with the Pharisees, they don't ask Jesus, but they don't just think it, they say it. And they ask Jesus' disciples, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Doesn't he have better sense than this? Doesn't he know how bad this looks? And Jesus overhears and answers in the way Jesus answers. And if there's a quintessential moment when Jesus demonstrates the way he uses the scriptures, it's here. And he says, very common, using common sense that's irrefutable. It's not well folks who need a doctor, it's sick folk. And I came not to call the righteous, but sinners. Now he's identified everybody with him as a sinner. He didn't say, who are you to judge these people? He didn't say that at all. He said, yes, you're right, they're sinners, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to call sinners. And of course, they knew that. Ezekiel chapter 34 tells them that the Lord's Messiah is going to be a shepherd and he's going to bring all the strays in. They knew that. But this is the way Jesus uses Scripture. He looks for the principle of Scripture and then states it and then extrapolates from it. And he doesn't cherry pick a line here and a line there and a line someplace else and then use those as building blocks for an elaborate argument or case. And then when he makes that elaborate argument or case, bind it on others. Jesus refuses ever to take the bait. We said yesterday he doesn't shy away from confrontation. He doesn't, but he never takes the bait. He never uses the scripture the way they want him to, but the way it should be used, which we will continue to see next time when we pick up with verse 18. Thank you.